Theodore Robert Bundy, you are charged. Indictment, 2 counts burglary, 2 counts murder in the first degree, 3 counts attempted murder in the first degree.
I think most humans have in them the capacity to commit murder. They choose not to, not because they are morally superior as they so commonly claim, but because they are imprisoned in a web of responsibilities, commitments, beliefs, and sentiments.
Richard.
And that would render murder an absurd gamble or ridiculous self-destruction.
Leon, it's been a while.
I feel like it's been ages since we've done this. Really, we did one last month like we were supposed to. Just, I don't know why. It feels like it's been so long.
Well, it's been a month and a week almost. Our cycles are, a little off right now. It happens to all of us,
Sorry for putting the man in menopause. It is that kind of month, and we're doing something we've never done before, which is going over a cult as opposed to a particular individual.
The true crime world is our oyster. Welcome, everybody. It's that crime of the month on a Tuesday. We were supposed to do last Thursday, but it actually worked out okay because this Thursday I have Smash JT as my saucy rabble guest. I had to shift Monday to Thursday, so it works out. But this NXIVM thing, totally off my radar. Shocking.
I cannot believe you didn't hear about this, man. When this news was coming out, I was falling like a hawk. I was like, yo, what the fuck? And maybe it's because I'm a Smallville fan, and that's sort of what broke the whole thing was one of the main actresses from Smallville was involved. But it was like, this was must-see TV. This was my Casey Anthony.
Really? I mean, learning more about it now, I'm like, no wonder this was a big deal. But at the same time, I'm like, why wasn't this on my radar? Because weird. Oh, friend of the channel, the Angry Badger. Gifted 5 Moxie Team memberships. Thank you so much. You didn't have to, but you did. It means a world to me. And there's going to be something pulled up shortly. No hands. Look, no hands.
Hi! I'm Barney K. Badger, and I'm going to be your Badger Burger waiter for this evening. Okay, here are some menus. Okay, I'm going to be right back to badger you for your order.
I hadn't seen that one in a while. We've done so much of the weird pussy disease. I was like, I miss Barnaby Badger.
I miss the Badger burgers. But yeah, so I was thinking back. I'm like, why wasn't this so much a thing for me? I'm like, oh yeah, the news broke out in 2017, right?
Yeah. 2017 is when the news broke, and if I recall, he wasn't. And of course, we go through the time we go over this. So he wasn't sentenced till 2019. There was a year-long investigation. But yeah, the news started really breaking in 2017. But what crazed me that I didn't know until doing research for tonight was that Forbes wrote an expose on this dude, effectively calling him a cult leader all the way back in 2003.
Ooh, yeah, you sent me that link.
I've got that old Forbes article up for our research stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I didn't read the whole thing. I wanted to sort of be surprised by some of it, but it's wild.
Yeah, getting into the minutia of it. We'll get into that in a second. But let's say hi to everybody. We're flashing chats, but John Washburn's gonna watch this later. Jake was here. Maybe he'll reappear. Lilith, why are you not green? Fix that. Or maybe you'll get hit by somebody. I don't know. Who's your daddy? Hello. Badger.
I don't
hello.
know where you're at, otherwise I'd start pulling them up. So I was scrolling through. Okay.
Oh no. We're clicking at random, but I'm just scrolling down. Is it Cavatino Cavalryman or is it Cavatino?
I'd say Cavatino.
Cavatino. Hola.
It's like a more exotic cappuccino.
I saw totally not related. I saw I doom scrolled on Instagram today, and there was this one that was like, if the Italians pronounced Mexican food, and everything was just the case and the burrito, the tortita. Like anyway. So I was thinking back, like, why wasn't this like my thing back in 2017, 2018? I'm like, oh yeah, I was super big fat pregnant, and like everything was that. And then it was like, oh, newborn kid. Totally everything was off my radar.
Yeah, the last thing you want to think about when you're about to have a little girl is sex cults.
I mean, not necessarily, but like I wasn't like consuming the amount of true crime content that I do now, especially like I wasn't even on YouTube that much back then either. And I think with all of like the politics and social issues going on, Ben Shapiro, Lauder Crowder, like those people that got Tim Pool got me more into watching YouTube videos and streamers and stuff. And then after that, so I would say probably 2019-ish, I just started consuming like streamers like us weirdos. But I'm surprised it still hadn't come up.
I watch nowadays, so I feel you.
But yeah, so you had mentioned this cult, and it's NXIVM, apparently. I was thinking it was NXIVM, but it's NXIVM, spelled with a V, and pardon my thumbnail, because I think I put a U in there. I got it on Twitter fast enough, on X, but whatever. Neither here nor there. Just, I know, it's NXIVM. And
I mean, all I'm saying is that like Elon Musk people be making fun of him for the way he fucking spells his kid's name and shit. Who pronounces, when you look at this, I feel like NXIVM is not what's going to come to your noggin. This is like NXIVM, like.
To be fair, is it as fun as like the Hail Bop cult? I would say no. It's more sex trafficking related than extortion and all those things.
Oh, maybe it is Roman numerals. I don't know. All I know is that the actual crimes itself were really kind of minimized because the celebrity of some of the people involved took the spotlight. And so when you go through like actual victim testimony and shit, it's like, oh, they were into some weird shit.
Let's see what Grok has to say about the Roman numerals laid out here. What do the Roman numerals NXIVM mean? Sparked various theories about its meaning, particularly regarding whether it relates to Roman numerals. However, there is no definitive evidence that NXIVM directly translates to a specific Roman numeral value or phrase in a meaningful way. So Grok breaks it down into the numerals, but he did brand the pelvis. To be fair, I don't know if he did it himself or he had one of his other slaves do it, but we're talking.
So we'll get to that. Before we get to any of this cult talk, Alex Darby coming in with 10 Foxy Moxie Day memberships. Alex, you absolute mad lad. Chinchilla. Emphasis on mad.
Thank you so much, Alex Darby. Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't done this in forever. The whole streaming thing, just in general. So
no worries, I got you, baby bird. Just
right
let me just treat like I'm just gonna drip feed you the way mom bird feeds their youngling, and I'll
please don't
drip feed you this information.
Please don't. I mean, rephrase.
Point is, we got this. It'll be easy. It'll be fun. Look at all these beautiful motherfuckers showing up to learn about how to not start, racketeering businesses that will lead you to inevitably force yourself on 15 to 20 women at a time.
So NXIVM, in the past, it's been debated whether or not it qualified as a cult. But as you mentioned, Forbes had actually, back in the day, had basically said it's a cult. It started out as a business, like a self-help consulting, self-improvement kind of a business. Oh no. But it was led by Keith Raniere?
Raniere. I thought it was Raniere as well. I had to watch a bunch of interviews to figure out how to pronounce it. And yeah, Raniere.
Raniere. So apparently, and I was watching something a a couple days ago that was talking about his early life and all that. And apparently this dude was reportedly genius level IQ, like beyond genius, like super genius. But in school, he didn't do so hot. Like in college, he didn't score very well. But he had a different type of genius, the power of manipulation and working the riz, and some people would say hypnotize, but he understood people and knew how to manipulate people. So how much of his success early on was his genius in like academics, or was it just his genius in people, which also beneficial, obviously? It's been a little debated.
Well, and where I think is the jury's still kind of out on whether or not he was even because yes, his test scores and whatnot weren't great. But to be fair, a lot of people who are very intelligent actually do have lower test scores because they're lazy. They find it beneath them. I don't doubt that he was a relatively intelligent individual. He definitely knew his stuff with computer sciences, which coming up in the late 80s into the late 90s was an emerging new branch of technology. So I think he was definitely smarter than the average bear. I just don't think he was as smart as he claimed he was, which is so often the case for cult leaders.
I mean, they do have that narcissistic confidence, right? And they project that. And that people that are looking for affirmation or for ways to improve on themselves, they're just the best targets for somebody in his position, especially with his know-how and his methods. Right.
Well, when I was reading the Forbes thing, the Forbes interview from 2003 or the Forbes expose, I guess, 2003, it's kind of wild how the parallels you can draw between his personality and, let's say, Epstein's, for example. They had very similar methodology.
Yeah, you know what? Let's take a look at that. So this Forbes article was from 2019, and
what this is. So if there's a basically a preamble, what's it called? Like an introduction that's from 2019. And if you scroll down, it's just a repost of the original article. So this is their introduction. And then right here is where the original, I believe it was right here is where the original starts.
Forbes cover from October 2003 right here. The world's strangest executive coach, Keith Raniere.
Yep, Raniere.
Hey, Rick. How you doing? Thanks for the smash. Phrasing. Keith Raniere's rich and famous clients pay thousands of dollars, bow, and call him Vanguard. Okay. A little TMI, but I have been a colleague with a person who is a CEO coach or consultant. He charges, if it's a nonprofit, they work for a school and they're abroad or whatever, he'll charge like $500 an hour if it's coming out of pocket. However, if it's coming from a big corporation and it's the CEO and he's consulting, it's $2,000 to $3,000 an hour. Why?
Wow.
These people need an outside person to consult them 2, 3, 4 times a month at that rate. I don't even know.
Well, at that rate, being the operative term, because like I used to be a sales manager for the internet company CenturyLink. Sure, a lot of you guys have heard it. And CenturyLink had a partnership with both Verizon and DirecTV. And because we were not Verizon or DirecTV, we were CenturyLink. They sent in 2 consultants, one from each company. Dan the man, Dan was the DirecTV consultant. He and I actually became close buds. He's still talked to this day. I consider him my sales mentor. But basically, they brought him in to say, you guys are CenturyLink employees. You know all about internet things, phones, things like that. We need to train you on to how to better sell this third-party product that is not technically something you own. And his job was he had a 6-month contract. Now, I don't know what his pay was, but I know his pay was good because dude was showing up in some immaculate suits.
But that was a contract. These people have had this guy for, I want to estimate 15 to 20 years. This is their...
And that's why it's more of a cult, in my opinion, because this is very Scientology-esque, where you keep buying these classes over and over to improve yourself. And each class is more expensive. And like that's how they made their money, NXIVM as a cult, because like I was trying and scouring to find ways that they made their money. And beyond those sorts of courses that they would sell a la Scientology, and then the pyramid scheme of recruiting more members, and they would be under you, and they would recruit under them. Those are like the only two ways I can find that these guys actually made money, which is why racketeering was one of the main things they had to get them on besides the sex stuff, because there was no there was no easily identifiable crime, because the money was coming from such random places, and for like, were these products real? Are these courses real? Did they actually do their job? They're actually, I don't know if you saw or not when doing the research, very recently, the end of last year, 2024, they're petitioning for an appeal and a retrial because supposedly the FBI or CIA, whoever it was, actually planted evidence. The claim
not a good look.
is that one of these three-letter agencies planted evidence to nail a conviction.
Yeah, I mean, there was also the angle that, and we'll get into how the whole sex cult or sex trafficking portion plays a role in this pyramid scheme, because it sounds like it's just, oh, you're taking advantage of people that want to better themselves. It's a coaching service, and this and that. It gets weirder. So this is the older article, one that I read that you sent earlier, the Telegraph. No, New York Times, said that over 18,000 people had gone through courses or attended classes. And a lot of them attended just a couple classes, and they weren't like invited into the fold. So those were the outlier people that were just kind of like checking it out, but they weren't like welcomed in. And there's an interview, friend of the channel, the Angry Badger, sent us earlier this evening, with the dude who has a podcast now, the dude that played Lex Luthor in the CW series.
He knew one of these criminals personally. Yeah. So Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor in the best live action Superman ever, Smallville. And this was his co-star, was basically the one that made this case famous, because she went to prison for, I was going to say for trafficking women. They actually dropped those charges and only got her on racketeering. But we know what she was doing. She was recruiting this fucking pussy for homie. Like, that's what she was doing.
She was in the inner sanctum.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's funny, though, too, that they specifically say that he's one of the smartest and most ethical people alive. The people that were his devotees, right? They're big on, he's the most ethical person, knowing full well some of the shady shit that he was doing. Then again, there goes that question of that manipulation and the indoctrination and brainwashing.
I actually do question. So NXIVM itself wasn't necessarily, to my knowledge, the sex cult. The sex cult was a subsect DOS. And I do wonder how many of your average NXIVM members knew about DOS, since it was female only. Obviously, the high-ranking members all did, but the people that were calling him like all saying that he was so moralistic and whatnot, a lot of those accounts from the early 2000s, before this stuff was public. So I wonder how far the knowledge went even within NXIVM itself.
I'm sure most of the people that attended classes, maybe that were regulars, paying $25,000 a day to $100,000 for a half dozen session over 18 months, I'm sure they didn't know, because that DOS group was so carefully guarded as far as collecting. And we need to say what the DOS is, but the DOS.
Yeah, I think we get to that. We actually got to the DOS portion. Yeah, but basically, long story short, so we get the DOS is the subsect that was where all the sex pest stuff was actually happening.
Hail, Mr. Tech Rat. And Cinevere Stalker. Oh no. I thought Cinevere Stalker should have like.
Yeah, she's got Cinevere Stalker, Cinevere's Fish. There's a few out there that are becoming quite they're becoming fans. You love to see it. Sorta.
So Raniere preferred to be called Vanguard by his followers, and he had a business partner, Nancy, who was a former nurse and therapist, public face of executive success, called herself the Prefect. So they're giving, Vanguard, the Prefect, they're wearing velvet robes. What gave it away? Like,
the dude looked more like Jesus than me, which is pretty hard to do. At least younger pictures of him. Now, you know, by the time he was arrested and whatnot, he was clean shaven and whatnot. But during the early days of the, self-help classes, because it's not a cult yet. He's like he's wearing relatively humble clothing. He's got long brown hair. He's bearded. Didn't have a parrot on his shoulder though, so I got one up on him there. I've also never had a sex cult, so I got another up on him there as well.
Sweater vest, very trustworthy.
Speaking of trustworthy, we can also trust Jake Martin to come in with them 5 Moxie Dame memberships, actual dropping that banger.
Jake!
Bingo, bango, bongo. You love to see it.
Thank you, Jake.
And then Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. You want to read this out?
I love your content. Hope you're well.
Wrong but we'll accept it.
It's fine. We are not judgmental here. Maybe a little bit.
She is not judgmental here.
But not when you're giving me compliments.
Anyway, sorry, continue. Just want to call Jake there. Feel free.
You know that one little nugget of internet history of the give me compliments. I said, give me compliments. No?
That rings a bell, but
it's like a really Swedish guy. I swear I must have tortured you on the Discord one night at one point.
You probably have, but we were both probably, yeah.
We weren't nothing. We drink vitamin water.
Responsibly. Oh.
Yes.
Actually, I do drink vitamin water. I literally have some right here.
It offsets the root vegetable water. Anywho.
So, look at that. That right there is that zero sugar pineapple passion fruit goodness.
You're a fruit.
So, I was good. Well timed. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so there were different there are levels, Jerry. There were different levels that they associated with that. There were basically kind of ritualistic things that even on the outskirts, the participants, the regulars would have to do as part of their routines. Let's see. He claims he spoke in full sentences when he was 1 year old and taught himself high school math in 19 hours when he was 12.
I have to ask you.
Go.
Is that not something multiple cult leaders have claimed? I feel like I've heard other cult leaders claim they were speaking by one. They were speaking full sentences, but is that just a cult leader playbook line?
To talk about how early you developed and how advanced you've always been since childhood. You're the Messiah, basically. Sounds legit. No.
So
okay,
he's doing the self-help. And for all intents and purposes, this isn't anything out of the ordinary. This is a legitimate business. A lot of businesses were doing this. In fact, this sort of business ramped up in the 90s. If I recall, he gave his services to Enron. That should have been people's first red flag as to whether he was good at this or not, because we all know what happened to them.
So for the followers or participants or clients, whatever, confidentiality is sacrosanct. Students must sign an NDA agreement and vow never to talk about what they learn. Super secret, guys. If they violate it, they are compromising inner honesty and integrity. And that August, he sued a woman for the suit claim divulging information, violating an NDA. It's a legally binding contract. Fine. But let's see. Asked to audit a session, the group's lawyer presented a 3-page confidentiality agreement forbidding the magazine to write about virtually anything seen or heard. The reporter declined and later was allowed to make a brief visit to the Albany site. We are all individuals. Oh, there was something else that I saw about Raniere's belief system, or NXIVM's belief system, in that there are no unhappy people. They're just people that create problems and are unwilling to accept success. Or something
that was like part of a big one of his big tenets was that he was wanted to I want to make sure I phrase this properly, because it was very, he thinks that he has found the key to pure spiritual joy, and that it was his job to be able to spread this. And so that, yeah, like all unhappiness and all your world's woes and whatnot are actually, they come from within you and they don't actually exist in the physical world. And he's going to give you the tools to get rid of those, there's a wild experiment, if you want to call it that, a scientific experiment that was allegedly done on one of the victims. That's something straight out of Clockwork Orange, for her to get rid of anything that could sap her joy, and she had to watch like gang rape snuff films and stuff. But we'll get to that when we get to that part of it. But
those are words that we're allowed to say on YouTube. Totally fine.
Sorry,
it's fine. It's not for everybody. But it was all too intense for some after sleepless nights and 17-hour days of workshops. What the fuck could you possibly be doing for 17 hours a day in a self-help workshop?
Not playing Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Right? So it says here that this 28-year-old woman from a prominent Mexican family said that she had begun to have hallucinations, had a mental breakdown at her hotel, went to the hospital and required psychiatric treatment. Her psychiatrist says in the last 3 years, he had treated 2 others who have taken the class. One had a psychotic episode.
Now, I wonder if this is Daniela, who was actually one of the women that ended up, because she was a young Mexican girl, claimed to be groomed, although he did not actually physically do anything with her until she was over 18, just a few days over 18.
But that's the whole definition of grooming, though, is preparing you for
exactly. So I'm wondering if this is the same girl who we actually do have her victim accounting as one of the things that I laud, or this is a different young Mexican girl. And if that be the case, dude had a type.
Yeah, there are a lot of skinny white bitches in his little inner sanctum too, though. So
that's true. Don't see a lot of black women.
I did notice there were no moratoriums, no poofy hairs.
Erwin has rubbed off on you, and I don't know if I like it or not.
You know, everyone has AIDS. I caught the Kabbalion AIDS. It's fine. At least we're happy and fabulous doing it. So
yeah, we have found the key to inner joy. Maybe we were NXIVM members.
We've all been grooming each other. It's fine. Gosh. So this guy. Would you look at this man and think that he at any given time had 20 to 30 like women as sex slaves?
I mean, I think it's all in that perfectly parted, feathered hair. Like, if you look at that and you just think, this is a dude I can trust to fix my computer. I'll let him put his penis in me.
Clip it. Clip it.
Oh, fuck. Fuck you.
Never quote a sex slave from the NXIVM cult. If you're Leon, anybody, just never say it. Don't air quote, because it's gonna get clipped.
Anyway,
so
yeah, let's go through the timeline of events here.
Oh,
fuck, no. Love it. Says clip.
Love you, Leon. Okay. And then here in other articles as recent as 2023, they refer to it as the cult-like organization because it has been kind of debated whether or not it qualifies, right?
Yeah, so there's a debate there as what I mean, me personally, I don't know that this is a cult in the traditional sense, but because cults usually have a religious basis, and there isn't one here. Oh, you might have. That's my real life best friend, by the way. So I'm going to get I could get tortured with that. We could be just hanging out together watching wrestling. He might pop that up on his fucking phone. Anyway, yeah, cults traditionally have some sort of religious basis. This one doesn't. But aside from that, it literally hits every other notch for being a sex cult. So I got no issue calling it a cult, even if it might be slightly technically incorrect. What else would you call it?
I mean, there's cult crossover, cult adjacent, but I think there's cult crossover. So I think it's in that circle there. Zach's
you could have said in that hole there, and that would have worked so much better.
I don't self-sabotage nearly as much as you do. But in which a harem of sexual slaves were branded with its founder's initials on their pelvises and coerced into having relations with him. It captured mainstream attention in 2017 when several former members shed light on the group's practices and violating their NDAs, and at risk of anything that could be used to exploit, extort, all the things, any vulnerable bits of information they had to put up front. They had to surrender information, pictures or whatever, so that they would stay in line. Because if they ever got out of line, then those would be disseminated, right? And make them look bad, ruin their lives. And that was held over them so that they would stay in line. I think there was one woman and then another woman and then several, like, you know, that momentum of empowerment kind of a thing came out. So in 2017, this finally broke. I
also feel like it's important to note he claimed he was celibate, by the way, like so many cult leaders do.
He looks like he should be, but I digress.
Yeah, claimed celibacy. He had these women front collateral, which the collateral was not collected by him. And this is where he was almost like, I don't want to give him credit and say he was intelligent, but like he would have either the gal known as the prefect, or to my knowledge, Allison Mack, the actress gal, or he also had the two heiresses to the Seagram's alcohol brand as large donors in his upper echelon circle. And it was all those upper echelon women that, to my knowledge, were collecting the collateral, whether it be secrets like you've been cheating on your husband, or it be nude photos, things to that effect. Things that were
as his generals in this, like a general-esque type of role, they would in fact also be providing a service to the vanguard by taking that role on, right? He's commissioning them to go out and do the thing, recruiting or, extorting or blackmail, all those things. He was giving out his orders and his generals, and there are different levels of the hierarchy within even the DOS. What did that stand for? Is that here in this article?
So it's Latin, and I don't remember the Latin terms, but it basically it translates loosely to right here. Lord and Master of the Obedient.
Go for it.
No, go for you.
Oh no, it's all you.
Oh yeah. You just don't want to get clipped saying this. Lord Master of the Obedient Female Companions.
I didn't think about that, but I was like, oh, I'll be the submissive one. You go, you read, sir. Oh no. So the secretive subgroup. So yeah, obviously the mainstream followers were not privy to the goings on of this little inner circle. His harem of people that have been coerced and extorted to engage with him. Allegedly.
Harem means something totally different. Sorry, go on.
You're fine. So there was reporting that one of the females in the group was 15 years old, and that he was charged also with CSA material.
That is one of the things that's actually being contested in his appeal of CIA or FBI, whichever it was, chicanery. The claims being made, and there are actually some forensic experts that are backing this up. She wasn't 15, and the CIA or FBI or whatever fudged the digital documentation to change the year, making her appear that she was underage at the time the photo was taken. So,
but I mean, she's still alive, and they can verify all that stuff, right? Like,
so that will probably be done if he's been denied appeals before. This is new info that came out in November, if I recall, of 2024. And we, of course, know how slow the court process is, especially with everything going on with the change in regime and whatnot. So it's entirely possible that this information might be valid enough to grant an appeal. And at that point, we will find out if, yes, there was actual interference by the three-letter organizations. Not that I want that to be the case. Like, I don't, as much as I hate the FBI, CIA, things like that, much like I'm sure you do. This dude's a piece of shit. Right. We want full transparency. If these three-letter organizations lied and basically wanted to confirm a conviction, so they doctored the photos to make this girl younger than she was when she wasn't, like that. I don't want the guy to be absolved, but that's the sort of thing that needs to be reined in. I'll let him put his P @ $me. There we go. Clip that, bitch.
So he was finally charged in 2018, but he had scampered off to Mexico when he got wind that the winds were shifting, and oh no, I may be in danger. So he fucked off to Mexico, but the U.S. negotiated the arrest to be made there, took him back home, and let's see. At a hearing in Texas, he was sent to Brooklyn to face charges that he forced women into engaging in copulative activities. In an affidavit,
that's a very classy way to put that.
You know, we've said a lot of words here tonight, and I'm just doing my part to preserve the channel. Good scamper. I don't scamper.
That's an excellent question. Love it, especially with all of them being like as young as they were. Maybe that's the thing, is like because they were younger, they nagged less. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Mox?
My thoughts are he wasn't living in a house with them. He just chose them when he needed them, and bye-bye. Also, he like gave them compliments. And now I have to watch that video. Gave them compliments, rizzed them up, sent them on their way so that they were loyal servants when they went out into the beyond and found more loyal servants for him when he wanted them and called upon them.
What you got to watch is his YouTube channel.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, you have more subs than him. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you have more subs than him. Wouldn't that be wild?
Oh, I do.
You've got more subs than the sex cult guy we're covering on this show. These videos,
Keith Raniere conversation.
There's nothing crazy in these, by the way. These are obviously before he was arrested and whatnot. And like this, I imagine, was his way of like marketing and self-help. He's doing all these interviews with Allison Mack, the Smallville gal. And it's supposed to come off as just like, look how beneficial we are to arts and business. Come join what would later end up being a sex cult.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually watch Smallville. But for somebody who has the popularity, the notoriety, and from what her co-worker, co-actor, what do they call those people? Co-star, stars. Yes, like you and me right now. Thank you. The co-stars that would vouch for how nice she was and how polite she was and all that stuff. It would really behoove a person like him to get somebody who could be the face. Right?
Sorry, I was reading this. It's based how Kristen Cruick, I think I said it right, brought Allison Mack into the cult, then left her there. I didn't know it was Kristen Cruick that did it, because she was also a relatively mid-level actress who was part of it, but I didn't know she was the one that recruited Allison Mack. So if that's crazy, if that's the case, that's crazy. Because yeah, she did bounce. She was like, "Yo, shit's getting weird. I'm out." So yeah, my apologies. I wasn't trying to ignore you. I was just parsing through that comment.
Oh no, you're fine.
On this, I didn't know.
But
yeah, I watched a couple of these earlier just to get a feel for how the guy talked and presented himself. And like, to his credit, I've heard some cult leaders speak and whatnot. You go through, you watch these documentaries, and they sound like fucking cult leaders.
I remember
this
very
dude,
early
like,
on,
oh, he just sounds like a guy.
Person or the second person after me.
So we can take care of a limited number of people. What happens when we start to release that tool and it becomes publicly known? You have all these people that are suffering from this syndrome. Do
we know how tall he is? He looks like he has like T-Rex arms.
Really? I don't know. To me, he comes off as like
is he proportioned, or is he a Funko Pop? Maybe that's the problem.
I think he's definitely got like I think it's the head. I think it's the head mixed with the size of the glasses. Like I think there's a lot of optical illusions going on with his face.
Is he brainwashing us right now? That's
what he's attempting to do.
Visual,
100%.
Whatever it is, but the manifestation of it is this social problem. It brings much great prejudice.
See, what is he doing with his hands?
Violence.
He's manifesting in your brain. He's getting all up in there, Leon.
People, all of this sort of a thing.
Also, pause this real quick. So, for context, he was one of the main things that NXIVM claimed that they could do, besides being, like, help you get better at business and whatnot, was cure certain mental illnesses / diseases, including Tourette's. He was
yeah.
under the impression that you could, again, I don't know if he was under the impression, or again, he led people to believe, I should say, that taking these NXIVM classes could cure your Tourette's if you had it.
It's just the willpower of the mind. And if you have the discipline to follow his process, you could gain control over these things that are impeding your success in life and make you a less negative person, causing problems for the people that don't actually have problems because you're toxic. It's you. You're the problem.
That's fair. These are pretty cult leader mannerisms. But by the same token, as a YouTuber who frequently tosses his hands, like, there might be some crossover there.
Look at this guy's face, though. Like, looking at him, he looks mesmerized. And I don't see it. Just looking at it, it's like,
yeah, he just looks like a dude giving like a budget TED talk.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to everyone here, 71 of you across platforms. Don't forget to do the YouTube thingy bobbers if you're having a modicum of a decent time. Thank you.
Make sure to sub to my girl. She absolutely deserves it.
Go on. I lost, over the last week that I wasn't streaming, I lost 5 and I gained back 4. So
all of a sudden, I may have just developed Tourette's. Am I misinterpreting this comment?
Understandable, Leon.
Anyway, where were we at with this? Oh, right. So I was gonna pull up a video that say that again, go on.
Oh, I said, you're gonna pull up a video, which would be great because I need a little intermission.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna do it, so you could have that intermission right there. Here we go. Yep, this is the one. Give me one moment. So this is an 11-minute video. We're obviously not going to watch the whole thing, but I want you guys to sort of get an idea of what these individuals were, what these victims claim they went through after all said and done. Because we talked a lot about him and his proclivities, but this isn't him. We don't want to. There's a lot of victims here, and we want to make sure that their voices are heard. So this is a piece from there's a CBC. Hold on, let me check. No, ABC. CBC did a lot of coverage on this, but this is from ABC. And this is an interview with one of the victims. Let's go ahead and just let this play out for a moment. We'll do some commentary over it while Mox does her thing.
We are told the rendezvous was a secret. 5 women summoned to a house outside Albany, New York, one night this past March. Sarah Edmondson says she was one of them, willingly participating in a strange initiation ritual led by a woman who told everyone to take off their clothes and put on a blindfold.
Let us in blindfolded and sat us in a semicircle, buck naked, no clothes, on a sheepskin rug.
Edmondson told authorities that she thought they were going to get tattoos. Instead, she says they found out they were all...
Which, by the way, even if it was tattoos, you're being blindfolded and stripped naked. I've only had a couple tattoos in my life, but I can't think of any tattoo that would be worth that, but that's just me.
All going to be branded.
What was that like? It was worse than childbirth. Imagine a hot laser dragged across your flesh for 30 minutes without anesthetic.
At this point, you're probably wondering, how in the world did this happen? Sarah seems so normal. She lives in Vancouver, where she is a wife and mother with a successful film and television career.
Do I know you?
I don't think so.
Oh, no. I never forget a face.
But her life changed after she...
There's something, too, that I was thinking as far as like... another thing I read was it wasn't just that they were welcomed inside, told to strip, put a blindfold on. One of the instances, a lady was tied to a table and she was asked questions about her sexual history. And all the while, another person that was in his employ was going down on the chick while he was asking her all these questions. Like, it wasn't just like, come in, blah, blah, blah. Brandy with the laser? I'm sorry. I was thinking like traditional cattle branding.
That's what I was thinking as well until I saw this video. And this somehow seems way worse than just like a with a branding cow thing. Like, that's a one and done. But like with a laser, they're doing it multiple times to like get the I don't know. That seems rough, buddy.
Are there any sketches as to like where and like what it looked like? Like, I'm just kidding.
Yes. In fact, I think some of the articles I shared have the actual images of it. If not, they exist. We can just pull them up. If you want to search for those for a moment, we'll go ahead and hit play on this.
Go for it.
Crossed paths with a secretive self-help group called NXIVM and its charismatic leader, Keith Raniere.
I'm an interesting person. I'm a controversial person, but most importantly, I'm an unconventional person.
According to promotional materials, even as a child, Raniere was destined for greatness, speaking in full sentences at age 1, reading at age 2, judo champ.
From here, we'll just skip back to the victim stuff because I could not.
Yeah, it was around the bikini area. It was the pelvis, but was it the undercarriage or was it just like, tramp stamp or?
It was right here, give or take. Like this
okay.
general area. Like somewhere right above, enough to where, like, if you ran to a gal just on the street, you wouldn't see it. But if she was dressing slutty at a bar, you'd be like, oh. And sometimes low enough to where you'd have to take her home from the bar to be like, oh.
Okay. So I'm going to share for just a second, and then we'll pull your video back up.
Go for it.
Maybe, if StreamYard will cooperate. Hold, please. I had to. StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard, be honest, bogus again.
There we go.
Yeah, that's that third image over is a good image of these.
Ew. With a laser. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So were they drugged? Did they say that they were drugged at all or anything like that? Or was just...
No, in any of the accounts I read, no. In every account I read, it was effectively voluntary. But that's because by this point, they had been with the organ. This isn't like they just pick these girls up off the street. They would pick them up off the street, get them to join the organization, but then brainwash them over long stretches of time to where when they finally came in to do this, they thought this was part of the program. And again, like he said in that little bit, he's unconventional. He made it part of his sales pitch. He was unconventional. So these people would buy into that because, everyone loves the woo-woo.
Yeah. There was something too about, them being requested, or the request was made for them to stand in the snow for prolonged periods of time. And I thought that the article was interesting that it was written that way because it wasn't, they were forced. It was requested of them to go stand out barefoot or naked in the snow for like 30 minutes and upwards or something like that. So these people were so conditioned.
No, continue by all means.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you as far as like they'd already been in it. They were so conditioned. It's like you follow the orders, you follow the request as it was written,
Well, and then to add to that, when you did deny, at least based on the testimony of one individual who, again, we'll go over. I've got her, got some information from her pulled up. If you did deny him, too many times or whatnot, he would make your life hell, because a lot of these folks, obviously, when you're in a cult like this, when you're in one of these, tight knit communities, shame is a really powerful motivator. So he would tell all these other individuals, hey, so and so's acting out of line. We need to confine them, and we need to shame them into accepting our ways again because they're having questions and doubts and things to that effect.
Because even at that point, they would be willing to follow the rules up to a point, and then they have a point where they're not willing to do it. So, okay, go back to the things that they're willing to follow, the restrictions or the punishments, however you want to phrase that. And I love it. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, the conditioning. Yeah, makes sense. Wild.
All right, let's scroll through here. Okay, yeah, here we are. We're back to her.
Yeah, and concert level pianist at 13.
I was told that he was one of the smartest men in the world and just an incredible man.
With that, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mr. Raniere.
So incredible, it seems, that an ordinary name just won't do. Participants say they're taught to call Raniere Vanguard.
Vanguard. Yes, Vanguard is the name that we refer to Keith as because he is a leader of a philosophical movement.
At the heart of NXIVM training is something called intensives, which former members say are like group therapy, running as long as 14 hours a day and up to 16 days. Edmondson says she
Yeah, all right, here's the dealio. Mox, I love you. I love Gooch, Bash. I love everyone in the cabal and whatnot. But group therapy for 16 hours to all y'all, I would probably write off myself. Like, you know what I mean? In Minecraft, of course. But like that 16 hours a day with anyone just seems like it's too much.
Group work for that long, that in and of itself is torturous.
Okay, so it's not just me.
It's not just you.
Attended her first one in 2000.
What was that?
I have a cap. I have a social cap. Like, no. But seriously, like just like the images of this guy and seeing him speak, especially with the long hair, it's like this is like I'm gonna say something. The actual incel god, right? Because
I mean, he definitely wasn't an incel, but
well, he would be the god for the actual incels that like mass pew places to own the Chads and the Stacys. But this guy would definitely be somebody that they would look up to for the fact that look at him. Like he's nerd guy. He looks like nerd guy.
Right, but he's also like I would say that when you think of what attractive nerd guy would look like, it is him. Like he's got a relatively defined features. His hair is whether long or not, it's well kept.
But the bitches that he's pulling and the quantity of bitches that he's pulling, come on. I mean, he's got a great personality. Sure, but come on. This is excessive.
Yeah, I ain't gonna argue with that. So we can keep going with this, or I can pull up one of the other victim testimonies. It's totally up to you.
If there were some points that she specifically makes, let's find those. Or things that you find interesting, because I didn't get to watch this one.
Yeah, I watched part of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but hold on. There was all right. Let's go with this right here.
Was Vanguard.
When you met him, did he seem like a genius?
He seemed like a geek. And I sat down and I asked him, I said, so you have a 240 IQ. Why are you doing this? He said, this is the platform that I'm going to use, and I'm going to change the world.
But not everyone was buying what Raniere was selling. Attorneys general in several states began looking into Consumers Byline's practices.
We first told you about Consumers Byline last May.
Now, Consumers Byline was his original company before NXIVM that failed. You ever see one of those companies that was like, hey, buy these products at a reduced price, but exclusively from us, and you get like a catalog and whatnot. It was big before the internet shopping. It was one of those. While the business did get shut down for unethical business practices, he never faced any sort of criminal charges or anything like that. It just the business got shut down, which is why he in turn started NXIVM a few years later.
He learned from his mistakes.
Yes, and that learning definitely took
a monster.
Yeah.
Lynn, she had left her husband and moved to Albany with her young son to be with Keith. They were together for nearly 6 years.
Here's the smartest man in the world, willing to help you through your emotional issues, help you heal sexually. I'm going to help you heal intellectually. You just have to trust me.
Natalie says she witnessed the early days of NXIVM. Raniere had just partnered with a woman named Nancy Saltzman.
Were there any verifiable pieces of data that would confirm how intelligent he is, or was it just him telling people how intelligent he was?
2 guesses.
The latter?
The latter.
And together they created teachings known as rational inquiry and methods that in court filings, Natalie later likened to brainwashing.
What Keith does, he elicits all that information from you. My opinion is that what they do from there is they take that information and they utilize that. Where can I not build you up but break you down?
Over time, Natalie says her relationship with Raniere changed. He started to get aggressive, controlling.
Identify areas where I can break you down to build you up.
In the image that I want to build you up in.
Yes. Savior. Ew.
I mean, I don't know. It's like Savior sounds is that the actual like sociological term? People that do that have like a savior complex, or
no. I'm saying that from the victim's perspective, that person becomes their savior because they unknowingly get broken down while the person doing it is doing it intentionally, only to build them up manipulatively, and so that the person that's being victimized sees that person as their savior.
St. Martin, somehow I believe this. Yeah. From here,
it checks out.
So we'll move on to we've heard from his ex-girlfriend and that first actor girl. This one's particularly egregious. Please let me out. Former NXIVM member testifies about being held in a room for 2 years. Now, she wasn't really, to my knowledge, held in a room for 2 years, but she may as well have been. For 2 years, she was
encouraged.
Right. For 2 years, she says she was kept in a single room with blacked out windows. She had only one set of clothes, which she wore for weeks and at time without washing. She barely had any contact with the outside world. The story of forced isolation came from the woman identified by prosecutors only as Daniela, who testified last week in the trial against Keith Raniere, the founder of NXIVM, an Albany, New York-based company that sold pricey classes claiming to help people achieve success. Danielle described how she went from being a bright and promising high school student in Mexico with dreams of becoming a scientist to being pulled into the self-help curriculum of NXIVM and eventually kept in isolation in a room for nearly 2 years at the direction of members of the cult-like group. Now, was the door locked? No. Do you feel like you could leave the room? No. Daniela testified that Raniere and other NXIVM members convinced her own family that she had done something horrible enough to warrant being held in the room in isolation, and that they enlisted her family's help to keep her there. She went years without seeing her family. You want to know the fucked up part of this story? Because she was on such a route for success with her high school accolades, her dad bought her the NXIVM classes, the initial NXIVM course classes.
The ends justify the means for some people. And if you're especially if you're that dad who is expecting and demanding success and this is the surefire way to do it, no, you stay in it. We don't talk to you for a couple of years. It's for your own good.
Well, he wasn't in it yet. He had heard how great NXIVM was as a tool for building your repertoire and your social status and whatnot. And so he bought her the classes. They roped her in. She later brought her family in because it was so great.
After being withheld from them for years.
Well, again,
they were still willing to.
She didn't know that she was, so she thought this was a great thing and wanted to get her family in on it because of all the help. Like, I think it details more in the arc. Yep. How did she get there? Nearly a decade earlier, Daniela was one of the top students in Mexico. She gained admission to an elite high school in Switzerland, and her father, Hector, gave her NXIVM classes as a farewell present in 2002 before she was set to leave for Europe. Through the courses and lessons, Daniela testified NXIVM members are discouraged from completing high school, and they encouraged her to help the group's mission and move to Albany, which she did that fall. She had not learned computer programming as she was promised, but did work organizing Raniere's library and writing summaries of books for him. She also testified that Raniere's direction, she was instructed to hack into computers of perceived NXIVM enemies, mostly former members of the group, and she was not paid much for her work. While a minor, she testified she was groomed for a sexual relationship with Raniere, and she had sex with her, who had sex with her days after her 18th birthday. By 2005, Daniela's entire family, her father and mother, and 3 siblings, had followed in her footsteps to join the NXIVM community in Clifton Park, just outside Albany. This part gets even weirder. Daniela's parents were unaware that she was having a sexual relationship with Raniere, whom most NXIVM members believe was to be celibate. If you had a relationship with Raniere, Daniela testified, you committed to be with only him for life, but she said Raniere himself had sexual relationships with multiple women simultaneously. Daniela said she later found out Raniere was also having sex with both her sisters. All 3 of her sisters had gotten pregnant by Raniere at different times and had abortions at his urging.
Wow. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, like this is
no boundaries at all.
This part is
the most
fucked.
The most ethical man on the planet.
Most ethical man on the planet. That's what this believers thought of him as. Daniela said she was disturbed knowing that Raniere was having a relationship with her sisters and many other women in the NXIVM community, and the relationship slowly began to unravel. It finally deteriorated over what was known as the NXIVM community as an ethical breach. Ironic. She said she had feelings for another NXIVM member. The pair had kissed, and he'd touched her under her clothes a few times in 2007. Daniela decided to tell Raniere about the relationship that year. In my mind, it was simple. I was going to talk to Keith and almost negotiate. But after she told Raniere about her interaction with the other member, Daniela said he blew up. The relationship and Daniela's life would never be the same. It was immediate isolation, like a shunning of sorts. She said she and Raniere began to correspond by email only. He would incessantly ask her for details about her interaction with the other man. She said her freedom of possession slowly started being taken away from her. iPod, phone, computer, even her immigration and identification papers, her only way of leaving the country. What was that?
I said, oh no. I mean, just even withholding if you take somebody's phone, that is a charge in and of itself. It is akin to back in the day when we had landlines and you cut the landline, you're removing that person's ability to contact help or law enforcement or emergency services or whatever. That's not a big small deal. Like, oh, I didn't get to have my phone or my iPod. No, you were cut off from help if you so needed. Like that's
right.
It's not just like a teenager getting their toys taken away.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2007. You think of an iPod back then. Effectively, all they were for at the time was like playing music, little games, listening to podcasts, whatever. They didn't have internet capabilities in 2007. iPods didn't. But that being said, when you take away that level of just basic entertainment, something as simple as listening to music, and you have them in isolation with nothing but their thoughts, that will drive them into a sort of menace. I mean, how often do you do mind-numbing tasks, whether it be editing a video or sweeping or whatnot, and you've got like some music on in the background just because it helps it helps you mentally focus or whatever.
Driving.
Driving's a big one. I'm
driving's a big one. Like I'm like, I don't remember getting here, but okay. Because your brain is distracted doing the mundane things that you do all the time, taking the same routes and all the things.
Yeah. I do not drive if I don't have a podcast or music going. Like you will never catch silence in my car.
Police interrogations, true crime.
I'm an
addict.
I'm sorry.
I'm an addict. It's a problem.
Daniela testified that Raniere and other NXIVM members enlisted the help of her own family to work on her. They were told her daughter is prideful and destructive. Her family didn't know the basis of her ethical breach, that she had developed feelings for another man. Instead, Raniere told her family about an incident years earlier which she had stolen and promptly returned the money. Raniere encouraged her family to be strict with Daniela. It was a tightly controlled environment around me, she testified. Daniela said she was determined to leave in 2009. She had to ask permission to sleep, eat, or go out, and it was determined to leave in 2009. I really was sick of this life, but other NXIVM members would intimidate her into staying, saying that one even telling her, "You can't leave. You destroyed so much. We brought you here. You owe us."
Oh, the guilting.
I want to go to school, Danielle said to Raniere in her email. I want to do something in my life. I want to work. I want to make money and be self-sufficient. According to Danielle's testimony,
this is supposed to, but just that statement right there. I want to do something with my life. I want to work. I want to make money, be self-sufficient. This whole premise of setting you up for success, it's counterintuitive to be like, don't go to school. Well, I have my own quirks with the education system, but discouraging academia altogether. On paper, theoretically. But they're outright discouraging, isolating, harming, like all the things when they were purported to be this great, set you up for success for your future and build this beautiful life for yourself. Like, it's so frustrating.
Oh, but it gets worse. Here's his
how
response.
Can her family, and her family being on board now with the Kool-Aid people.
They're doing what he's asking. They're confining her. They're isolating her. Her testimony was one of the big ones that got him put away. It was one of the big 5 that got him put away. According to Danielle's testimony, Raniere responded, "You should reject this thinking at all costs. This is the biggest mistake of your life." Her wanting to better herself and her wanting to make something of herself, he was telling her to reject that because he could not allow her to leave. He had to maintain control.
Well, if he loses control of one, he loses control of others.
Exactly. In a recorded conversation between Raniere and Daniela's mother played in court, Raniere is heard telling Daniela's mother she needs to be more strict with her daughter and mentions vaguely that Daniela has done something bad, saying that what she's done was the equivalent of having killed a child, which is very ironic considering he literally had the other 2 daughters abort their kids.
How many abortions?
Played in court.
At his behest?
So 2 that we know of just from this article alone, but who knows how many if he had these sex slaves for who knows how many years. And then, which is, of course, by the way, New York, probably pretty easy to come by them there. If I were Danielle's parents and she were going back to Mexico, I would make her choose between staying here and doing the right thing or losing communication with me. Raniere is overheard saying in the recording. Sometimes it has to be that strict. In the recording, Raniere repeatedly compares what Daniela did to the killing of a child, and Daniela's sister is faintly overheard interpreting the conversation for her mother. It is unclear whether the translation is accurate. Pinza, the prosecutor, asked Daniela whether she had actually killed a child. No. What had you done? Daniela responded by testifying she kissed another man. March 9, 2009, Daniela entered the room, which simply a bedroom in her family's home where she would stay in isolation for an unspecified amount of time. It was really clear that my parents were on board. I was going to lose my family. It was the only thing I had. And then the 2 years of isolation come. So we're not going to go through all this, I assume, because there's a lot. We still got more to cover. But, yeah.
Good grief. So, yikes. Yeah, I didn't get to follow that one. But, just one. It's not too late, Zach. Like I said. So, Allison Mack. We haven't really talked.
This is what brought this to light.
So she was featured in his YouTube videos pretty regularly, talking about all the different things of NXIVM. But this article, when did this come out? 2018. In the YouTube video, she was arrested this past week. So in April of 2018, she had been arrested for reportedly recruiting women to be sex slaves. Excuse me. Praising the alleged sex cult. First reported by Fox, the YouTube video is entitled Allison Mack Q&A, You Asked, I Answered, and dates back to October 6, 2013. Seated in a verdant garden with jazz music playing in the background, the former Smallville actress starts off the 13-minute-long video by professing the mark she wants to leave on the world. I want to be remembered for my joy, and that is something that he uses a lot as far as...
I'm glad you picked up on that, because I was going to say if you didn't. Yep.
Because it's not just success. He actually uses joy. Wasn't that Kamala Harris's? No,
yes, it was.
Yeah, joy. I want to be remembered for the way I impacted people. I want to be remembered as a woman who was honest and true and joyful. You know, hearing the people that use that word makes me dislike the word. I'm coming to realize.
Which is wild, because it should be such a positive word. We're talking about joy and shit. Like...
You know, we're in the era of newspeak, Leon. Ungood.
Yeah, I said crashed out earlier, which is like a common modern YouTube lingo slang. And my kid was like, "You're 30. Why are you using my generation's language?" It's like, fucking hey, man. You get a tat just for using a phrase? Anyway.
Hello, fellow teenagers. Oh my god. Speaking of doom scrolling through Instagram, there was this other video, brief tangent, and it was talking about the time between now and the 2000s when we were listening to the music that we listened to as teenagers. And then 25 years before that was like, you know, you get into 85, 75, and what our dads were listening to back in the day, what was dad rock. Now our rock is dad rock. And the math does not math for me because I feel like there's a whole like 10 to 15 year gap that just didn't happen. But yeah, the perception of time and coolness definitely hits you like a brick wall. Anywho, so Smallville actress talking about wanting to feel joyful. Sounds like she already drank the Kool-Aid for this one.
Oh yeah, she's been in this deep for a while now at this point. I'm pretty I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she joined in like 2008 or something, and this video is from 2013. So she's 5 years deep. She's brainwashed. Like or maybe she's not brainwashed and she just is getting really, really good benefits because she's in that upper echelon. I don't know which. Maybe a little both.
This is the first time I'm seeing the J-ness. Is that the DOS
J-ness,
group?
that sounds familiar. Hold on a sec. Let me blow
because
up the
this is calling it the women's empowerment group, but they also
yes. So DOS, she was promoting to the recruits as JNES, a woman's empowerment network. So JNES was the introduction to basically test girls and get them into DOS.
You're cool. You're cool. Fuck you. You're cool. Okay.
Right.
It was the filtering system. So the bait and switch kind of a thing. So yeah, I didn't realize, obviously you wouldn't like advertise it as the DOS, right? The subservient women thing. But okay, JNS was the lure.
Yep, the Women's Empowerment Circle. And of course, we all know that this time, 2013, this time in history, you know, feminism's on the rise. When we want more independence, this is when you get third wave feminism, all that sort of shit. So of course, if you've got a super successful, but if you've got a moderately successful TV actress trying to bring you into a woman's empowerment seminar, I bet a lot of bitches will fall for that hook, line, and sinker.
Right. She's got the look, she's got the know-how, she's got the name, she's got all the things.
Yeah, like, can you imagine if, like, I don't know, who's a mid-tier TV ad, like Selena Gomez, she's in that fucking show with like Martin Short and whatnot, like Only Murders in This Building or whatever. Can you imagine if she walked up to like an impressionable 15, 16, hell, maybe even 20-year-old girl and was like, yo, I'm running a woman's empowerment seminar. You want to check it out? You know how many 20-year-old girls would be like, Selena Gomez is inviting me to a woman's empowerment seminar? I have to go.
She's interested in me. She wants to be my friend. This must be good. She's successful. I want to be successful.
Different DOS, right, man? Different DOS.
Different kind.
And yeah, this was interesting. Considering, you know, she mentions Lena Dunham as an inspiration. Didn't Lena Dunham assault in a manner meant only for adults of the male and female persuasion her little siblings?
I had not heard that.
I'm pretty sure Lena Dunham did things like stick things in places that ought not be stuck with her infant siblings.
Oh no.
Janus in Roman mythology is depicted as a two-faced god associated with gateways, especially the heavens. Huh. Can't be a coincidence. Yeah, Zach, you got the right idea. Lena Dunham close as fuck.
Do you want to take a look at that video friend of the channel, the Angry Badger sent?
Yes, I can pull that up. Did you send that in Discord or on X? Discord, I think, actually.
Discord.
Let me just take a gander here, and I'll pop it right on up. I actually haven't seen this, which is crazy considering I don't watch it often, but I watched Michael Rosenbaum's podcast a decent amount because, I mean, I like it. It's a fun podcast. He just interviews other like TV actors and whatnot. Does a lot of time about Smallville, Supernatural. He interviews, like I said. So yeah, I've not seen this.
You're helping. Thank you.
I wasn't sharing my screen. I'm retarded. Let's try this again. There we go. Friend of the channel, Angry Badger, sharing this one with us. Let me know when you're good. We good?
Oh, sorry.
Is that how you want to say something? I interrupted you with my retarded Sammy.
And go, Bongo. Let's go.
You always think, come on, how can someone get brainwashed? Well, you know, working with, and I haven't really talked about this, but like working with Allison and seeing her grow up. And, you know, I never really hung out with her, maybe a couple cast dinners and, you know, directed her and she was really sweet. And, you know, she was always really nice, needed attention. Who doesn't? I know I do. And, you know, there were certain things. But you ask yourself, how does someone just completely, it's almost like you're leaving your skin somewhere and I can't explain it because knowing Allison for those years and just seeing her on set but you know, you never imagine in a million years. That's why I think I neglected sort of to read.
Have you ever slept walk or been around a sleepwalker?
My little sister used to sleepwalk, actually. I've never slept walk. My little sister did. She would also sleep with her eyes open, by the way. Creepy as fuck. But anyway, that's a different thing. Go on.
Well, I used to sleepwalk as a kid. And it happened, maybe not all the time, but there are a handful of occasions that I was told about. that freaked my parents out. But in those moments, like I legit walked to the other side of the house, went into my parents' room, and I spoke and I said things like, "Where's my lid? I can't find my lid." To this day, every time I go to look for a Tupperware lid and I'm like, "I can't find my lid," I'm like, there's like a little bit of a woo-hoo. But no, in those instances though, and the way that he describes like people that like they're just not there, it reminds me of the sleepwalking times, because you're walking, you're talking, you're having conversation, you're not running into walls. There was one time I thought I was in my parents' camper trailer. I was in between my TV and my fish tank. Anyway, but but you can maneuver the world, right? You can walk around and your eyes are open, blinking, and carry conversation, not very intelligent conversation, but you can talk. So the way that he describes this interaction, it reminds me of a sleepwalker, which, your own conclusions and assumptions as far as like her mental state, but it just flashback to the description of my sleepwalking days.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely understand what you're saying. Aside from considering the 14-hour group therapy sessions and all the fucking afterwards, there probably wasn't a whole lot of sleeping going on. But in general, I get what you mean. Yes, 100%.
It's just sleep deprivation. Been there too. It gets weird.
Read about it or really, it's like, this can't be. There's got to be something. But you probably saw her change.
I did.
And when you first met her, because it's still hard for me to believe. I mean, there was an incident at my house years later. Still, I don't know if I don't think I was on Smallville, but she and a friend of hers and this guy said, "Hey, I haven't talked to you forever. We want to stop by." And I hadn't seen her. And
what do you think about him doing his podcast barefoot? All like feet out like that, layered on top of each other.
It was the first thing I noticed, and I was just gonna ignore it. Like, part of me appreciates the casual nature, and the other part of me is like, this disgusting motherfucker. You were a Hollywood actor. You could buy some Skechers.
You and Kata are on opposite sides of the spectrum, not just the color spectrum.
I was going to say, I'm black, he's white. He's black, I'm white. Fuck.
Crisscross applesauce. Yes, you are on both sides of a spectrum on 2 tiers now. Let's just. Ooh, are you like Wario? Or is he Wario?
He would be my Wario.
You're right. You're right. You're right. The foot fetishist is definitely on the other side.
In reaching distance, you call me fucking Wario.
Play on.
Play on. Let's go.
I walked in the house, and it was almost like I just remember, I'm not blowing this out of proportion. I'm not exaggerating at all. I remember because my friend Ethan was here. And I remember we just kind of go, and by the way, I didn't even know about this NXIVM or anything at this point. I mean, I remember on set once she came and she's like, "Hey, you should take this class. It's really cool," and blah, blah. And I remember I said to Tom, "Sounds like a cult. I don't know." And we kind of laughed, but we never thought, oh, it's like, I'm sure it's like people are looking for things. We never did it. But but after that, we never really heard about it. That was what she was doing. And I never really thought about it. So years later, I don't know what year this is. I have to go back and I could probably figure it out. But I think it was after Smallville. She's in the vicinity. She comes over to the house and she walks in. And she walked in. She was a different person. She walked in like she owned my house. Like literally, she owned my home. She walked in with her friends and they walked into the kitchen. I was like, "Hey," she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And then walked into my kitchen, started bringing out pots and pans and started cooking. I go, "What are you guys doing?" My friend Ethan's like, what? It's like, "We're hungry. We're hungry. We're gonna." I remember that like it was yesterday. I got to talk to Ethan because then I said after a while I just felt uncomfortable. I was like, "Well, hey guys, like that's it. Come on, let's." And I kind of asked them like, "Hey, you might want to leave soon." And I was kind of be nice. The guy turned almost violent. I mean, he was violent. Like I can't remember what his name. I don't, because I didn't care. I just was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Very angry and like just I think he was on something. He was like, and he just started kind of cursing.
Maybe it's just me. I don't think he was on something. I think it was just, he's been in the fucking cult and they have that fucking brainwash mentality. I don't know. Maybe do you think he was on something?
I don't think he needed to be. Well, that's the thing I've wondered about all of these people that fall into this. Are they maybe not initially drugged, but maybe they're put on some sort of supplement regimen? I don't know. But just even without the idea of them being on anything, just being so conditioned, and then you have this like self-aggrandized like version of yourself or like view of yourself and entitlement or whatever. Like I can see it being a sober outburst. Weird, but come on.
Yeah, that's what I'm not. I'm on the same thing as you. I hadn't considered supplements or whatnot because there's nothing in any of the like, the testimonies or whatnot, drugs, but maybe because it was supposed to be all clean living and like being healthy, that very well could be the case. Yeah.
At me and Ethan, I was like, "Fuck you!" I'm like, "All right, you know what, buddy? I don't know what this is about. You just come in, you start cooking in my house. You guys don't even say that. Why don't you guys just go? Well, I'd actually like you to get the fuck out of my house." That's what I said. And I remember I was waiting for Allison to sort of jump in and say, "I'm so sorry. No, he doesn't mean this." There was nothing. It was just like, it was almost like they were zombies. That's how I remember. I'll never forget it. And I'm not saying that this has anything to do with it. NXIVM has anything to do with it. But when they left, I looked at Ethan and we were
based. Badger is based.
Hearts were racing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm disgusted. I don't, and I remember I got a text maybe a few days later. Oh, sorry about the other night or something.
It's bizarre.
But I'm just telling you that I don't know where it came from. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a bad night. But it was years after I had seen her. I hadn't seen her for a long time. So I think what I'm saying is, did you, when you first met her to the time all this shit went down, what was that transformation like? What was that sort of relationship?
I mean,
and here's the part I'm curious about. I don't know. His story was incredibly interesting one, especially since he knew her growing up. But
right
now we're about to hear from a victim, and
I mean, you don't like, people just don't come into your house like that you haven't seen in years, haven't talked to in years, and act like they own the joint. And also, they bring in people you don't know, and they're getting aggressive in your space. It's such an invasion of your home, your safe place. You're like, no, that would have been such an
dude. There's been times where I've walked out of into the living room, and my grandmother's been all like, "Hey, the neighbors dropped by and gave us apple pie." And my initial thought was, did they fucking come in the house? Like, I've been in the bedroom. I want to know motherfuckers step foot in my fucking home. Like, things like that. So it's not even anything like malicious. They were giving my fucking grandma some pie because she's an old woman and they want to support her and whatnot. But the initial thoughts, like, motherfuckers were here and I was unaware of it. What's happening?
I do not like pop-ins. Don't come by unannounced. Don't surprise me. My mom would be like, "Oh, I'm going to stop by." I'm like, "What time? When are you going to be here? I want to know." "Well, can't we just come by?" "No." Hello, Anonymous.
Dude, yeah, who knows? Like, could be fucking. I could be making dinner and not know that I not have the fucking company planned, and now I don't have enough food for everybody. Right. I could be jerking off in the bedroom. Who the fuck knows? Like, the point is, there could be shit that's. No, I'm right there with you about pop-ins. Like, it's.
I don't like pop-ins.
Now, my buddy Paul, I don't know if you're still watching or whatnot. He is very good about texting me like, "Yo, I'm going to be over around 3 o'clock or so." Because he doesn't ask, he just tells because we've been friends for years. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Usually I'm fucking asleep at the time. And so like he'll show up and it's like, "Oh, I texted you I was coming." I was like, and I had to respond if I was awake, but you're here now. Let's chill. And it's always fun. But in general, like, I don't know. I think he's the only motherfucker that can get away with it, which is wild. Because if anybody shows up at my house unannounced, no matter how much I love them, there's a inherent set of annoyance that like it takes a solid 30 minutes for me to clear.
Yeah. So even in the case of like my parents, it's a solid 20-25 minutes for them to get to my house from their house. The pop-in, not a fan. No. Yeah. It's a solid 20-25 minutes. There should be no reason to surprise me. Like,
if people even walk in the room when I'm streaming, I get incredibly upset because I'm like, I'm in the middle of something. I'm in the zone. And like, they could be trying to do something nice. Like, "Oh, you haven't eaten today. Here's dinner." Like my roommate popped in earlier to give me a beer, which was again, super nice and thoughtful of him, and I love him to death for it. Thank you so much. But I'm in the middle of my fucking job right now. I don't need motherfuckers walking in my space unannounced, so I'm in the zone. I'll drink the beer later, man. It's a beer. It can wait. You know what I mean? And if you're watching this later on, I appreciate you so much, Cookies. I still love you.
Shout out, Cookies.
I'm going to backtrack for 1 sec because you said something about brainwashing, and it's a word that people, you know, either you're of the mind of like, we're all brainwashed. It's just another word is indoctrinated. We're indoctrinated by society, by our parents to believe certain things. You know, commercials indoctrinate us. It's not a matter of whether we're brainwashed or not. It's just how brainwashed are you?
Right.
That's one belief, right?
Right.
I didn't understand how this worked until I left. Quick plug for a book that really helped me understand. It's called Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. And it explains how in a seminar you can be indoctrinated, especially in 3 days. That's why by day 3, they had me. Their hooks were in me. And it goes step by step. And I'm not an expert. I can't even begin to try to explain what he explains in this book. But if people want to understand better, that happens. But for somebody like Allison, and keep in mind, I was there for some things. I wasn't there for other things. I'm kind of hypothesizing what happened with her, you know? And I also don't want to like bring any more hurt on her and her family. I want her to be better. I want her to wake up. And I've heard, by the way, that she has, which is great.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of hoping. I was hoping.
So by the way, she was convicted of racketeering, which I think we mentioned earlier. She got off on effectively all the sex stuff, which is, in my opinion, bullshit. But if there was no case for it, there was no case for it. You know,
and she made a deal to plead guilty. Then, if there wasn't a strong case for the other things,
right? She was sentenced to 3 years. Oh, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna go.
Yeah. She got sentenced to 3 years. She served 2 and got out for good behavior. And supposedly has been living a normal life since then. I haven't heard her recruiting people for other sex cults, so she probably also ain't getting exactly too much work in Hollywood. Then again, you would think that Hollywood probably wouldn't give a fuck considering it. You know what? That's a different discussion. Anyway.
They're all doing
hoping that
because
I don't know anything other than I just remember her as a sweet girl, and I hope that I just kept hoping I was wrong or people were wrong, and I just don't know how it happened. So continue. Sorry.
You know what I remember is from that first Jeunesse training, and I'd met her casually through our group of friends, you know, at a bar, like at a party. Super outgoing, great dancer. I remember thinking like her style was really great.
Great singer,
really friendly, very, I liked how like she's very touchy, you know, lots of hugs. And I really liked her a lot. And after that first training, I think because she wasn't working the next day, she got on the plane.
Now, the first training, I assume that's probably J-Ness, not DOS at the time, based on what we know about J-Ness. Like, would you come to the same conclusion?
I actually don't even know if it's specifically the J-Ness portion or if it was just the earlier. Because in one of those articles, I think it might have been the Forbes article, it went into the different courses and what those entailed. It might have just been as innocuous seeming as one of those versus the women empowerment, but it very well could have been. I don't know if it's specified at what point she joined in or what courses she started taking first. But yeah, not sure. Ooh, did we even say what he ended up getting as far as like?
Oh, we didn't. I feel like we should after this membership chat for 2 months. Go for it, girly.
This stream about Angry Badger crime against Annie Mae.
No, however, we are slowly bringing him into the cult. He's been watching and loving Solo Leveling. He will soon be watching a couple of other films. I don't remember which ones, but they're both great. And I have the Cowboy Bebop movie is one of them, and there's one other film he'll be watching. What?
No, the Cowboy Bebop movie, or
not like series? The live action. Did you know Cowboy Bebop got? No. So Cowboy Bebop had like 26 episodes. There's a movie that takes place right before the last 2 episodes. It sort of bridges the gap, and that's what he'll be watching.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought you meant the live action. I was like, oh no, that's going to turn his weeb adjacency away.
Yeah, no. And then there was another movie. Vampire Hunter. Vampire Hunter Bloodlines, which was great. So yeah, I think Badger will be. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. I think Badger will start coming around. Like anime is like sandwiches. Nobody hates all sandwiches. They just might hate certain condiments and stuff. And if he hates the condiments that are all wacky and willy nilly, I can't knock him for that. But I'm sure he'll find some sandwiches he likes. I'm just sorry. You never hear someone say, I don't like sandwiches. You always hear people say, like, I don't like pastrami sandwiches. I don't like peanut butter and jelly.
Did we have this conversation before? Do you count hot dogs as a sandwich? Are you one of those people?
No. To me, the bread needs to be completely split.
Subway doesn't completely split their sandwiches.
I've been on the
technically Subway serves buns.
I've and my favorite food of all time is Philly cheesesteaks, and usually the roll is actually cut halfway through.
It's not cut all the way through. Your logic.
I'm gonna need to do some soul searching after this stream. Is what I've just learned. You know what? Technically, Subway is not bread. I don't know that I want to know the answer to what you're referring to, but by God, lay it on us. Anyway, we'll continue with this. We only got a little bit left, and then we'll probably do the wrap-up portion if that's cool with you, because I assume. All righty.
And went back to Albany to meet Keith after 2 days. And some people have said it was like the private jet. I don't know. So it's a rumor. Is it private jet? Or either way, she got on the plane, went back, met Keith, and that video footage that you see in the vow of them meeting at volleyball. Like, I've never seen that. I didn't even know that footage existed. When I watched that 2 weeks ago, I was like, holy shit. I mean, people didn't normally meet Keith until you'd had to take a minimum 16 day. So the fact that they let, Allison into that world, and she felt probably very special to get special access to the Vanguard. I think it's all things that many of us that were our actors, like wanting to feel important, feel special, get attention. I think she got all that. And
that was after 2 days?
Yeah, it was a 3-day training in Vancouver, and she flew back and met him. And I'm sure I don't know about you, but I felt nauseous. Got chills when I saw that video, like how he was looking at her and what he said to her. And he was fucking with her mind and like bearing into her soul with his eyes. Like you could just see the whole history unfold.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah, good timing.
Is there something to you about that last bit where she was saying typically it would take a person X amount of time, but it was only 2 days? And then the way that he was looking at her, is there any, female woo-woo vibes. Is there anything that translated to some sort of maybe potential jealousy in that? Like, I don't know. There's on second watch, I'm like,
I know I didn't get jealousy, but again, this could be different between the male and female brain, because what I got was the logical, I can use her. She's a woman of status. She like that's
no. He absolutely did that on purpose because she had the looks and the know-how and the
you mean from her perspective?
No, her telling it, retelling it. Typically it took people X amount of time, but she was accepted within a couple of days. And watching that video, it made me sick to my stomach. See the way that he looked at her. Like I can see it from both angles.
Like
it just depends on
almost like she wishes she was in Allison Mack's position instead of the one. She was the leader.
She wasn't the chosen one.
Right.
She wasn't the it girl.
Nothing new is also fun.
It's one of those things where if you just change the background music, the tone of the music for a scene, it can either come off really sinister or very joyful. But no, on the rewatch of that, I'm like, ooh, looking at this through a different lens, I'm like, that sounds a little like a Jelly Belly.
Yeah, Chip said that was jelly if I ever heard it. Also, B-Man says hit the like button.
I'm not crazy.
And no tax on Cake in Britain. Okay, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that's interesting to know. Yeah, I didn't get that vibe, but I'm retarded with women. I've been divorced twice, so maybe I should do some more looking into how women actually interact. Cult spin to control for sex. I can kind of see where you're coming from, Mox. Yeah, a lot of folks are seeing, picking up what you're putting down. So
I didn't get that the first play, though. The second play, I'm like, wait a second. Weird.
I appreciate that you didn't go for the second weird.
I did,
I guess
though, but you didn't hear it.
Oh, I think you might cut out. Yeah, maybe I didn't hear it. Maybe you might cut out. But either way, yeah, I didn't hear the second weird. Yeah, all in all,
Oh, what was his sentencing? He pled guilty to some things, right?
I don't know if he pled. He pled not guilty at first. Hell, he 100% pled not guilty at first. That's why there was all the testimony and there was it was a 6-week trial. After 6 weeks, he was found guilty for sure. I don't know if he ended up pleading guilty later or if they found him guilty. It was a jury trial.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking all of the adjacent women that were involved.
Yes, so all the adjacent women just they throw their fuck it, guilty, give us a deal. We didn't even touch on like the Seagrams women, the heiresses to Seagrams were part of this. The owner of Seagrams, their father, was calling it a cult. He was saying he was worried about their daughters being a part of this. One of the Seagrams' daughters like lent Keith Raniere a loan of $2 million at 15% interest, which is insane, to get certain things up and running. And then, yeah, when all was said and done, he was given 120 years because New York doesn't have the death penalty, if I had to guess.
California has the death penalty, but there's been a moratorium. Word of the day. There's been a moratorium on the executions since 2006, I think, in California. So it doesn't really count. But yeah, basically he got a life sentence, of course. Wasn't there something about the judge handing down a heavier sentence than even the prosecution was asking for?
Yes, because by the judge's own words, I could not see in his eyes any remorse for what he had done.
That's really telling, though, because even the prosecutor wasn't asking for what he got.
Yeah, judge just went fucking ham on this motherfucker.
Kibosh.
Which again, I don't think is a bad thing if, and we'll round it out with this. They are doing processing for an appeal because there is, again, evidence does not mean facts, by the way, guys. Evidence is just information that leads you to a conclusion. So when I say there's evidence of this, there is evidence that the I believe it's FBI, it could be CIA, but FBI planted evidence to secure a conviction
or manipulated evidence. That was already there.
The accusations actually
falsifying documents.
There was both planted evidence and manipulated existing evidence.
Oh wow! If they can prove that, then the whole conviction gets overturned.
There's also a claim that one of the residences he had that they seized seized evidence from. They did not actually have the legal grounds to even go into that residence. Now, whether it be they didn't have a search warrant or whatever it may be.
So the evidence that was found there shouldn't have been admitted.
Correct. Now, is any of this true? Is this just him trying to find ways to overturn his conviction? Who knows? But we could be getting a follow-up on this sometime in the near future because in November of 2024, he petitioned for an appeal, said all this stuff is bullshit on the legal level of the three-letter agencies. And this was 2018. Trump was in office. We had a relative Trump regime, but and now we're in 2025, same deal. So we're under the same administration. New York doesn't like Trump. I don't know if there would be any correlation there, but it's interesting to think about. So
I don't know if they just they would have had to file the appeal though soon after the conviction though, right? Which was
they filed multiple appeals after the conviction, and the judge slapped down every one of them. This one in 2024 that they filed, so far as I've been, I was not able to find one way or the other, but it does not seem like it's been shot down yet. It is still, in fact, there was so the article that talked about the appeal being filed was from November of 2024, but I found an article from January of 2025 that was basically just reintroducing the story with no new information, saying, yeah, this is still ongoing.
Interesting.
And I couldn't find anything more recent than January 2025.
So we'll see in about a year or so if it actually holds water. Never know.
Again, I don't exactly want this dude getting out of prison or whatnot. Obviously, he's an abuser. He's done horrible things. But by the same token, if there was abuse by the three-letter agencies, planting evidence, doctoring evidence, things like that, that needs to be brought to light. So.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Did you go over the name brandings? The initials. We did.
And with that, I think we'll call it, unless you got anything else.
No, we'll call it. What do you have coming up next?
Well, tomorrow I've got a video releasing on what will hopefully, and I do truly mean hopefully, what will hopefully be the last video I ever fucking do on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I also hopefully have a video coming out on the Game Informer possible return. I don't know that it's true, though. I can't find any information verifying it besides a bunch of tweets saying so. So we'll see. I'd love for Game Informer to make a return. They were a staple in my childhood, and if they're coming back, they were one of the last journalistic outlets for games that didn't cater to politics one way or the other. So yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah, Leon has a YouTube channel. It's Words of Paradise on YouTube. Also follow him on X. Are you also streaming to Rumble these days?
Not lately, because Rumble's been doing some ridiculous shit in terms of like, I will be getting these random spam account viewer bots in my streams, but no real streams. And also the Rumble UI is kind of terrible. I won't lie. The Rumble UI is fucking awful. I want to see Rumble go into like a replacement, but man, yeah, I'm not a fan of how Rumble runs their site. And for the final reason I was streaming Rumble, their CEO has actually gone back and forth with a friend of mine on X publicly multiple times because they talk about themselves being like anti-censorship and whatnot. But the chat does censor words. The Rumble chat has a set of words they auto-censor, and I don't think you can tout yourself as like the anti-censorship platform if you censor shit. At least YouTube's honest about the fact they censor stuff.
Very good. For me, I have Saucy Ravel usually on Mondays, scheduled for Thursday this week to accommodate my guest Smash JT. And that'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, avocado time. So that's what I have coming up. And I plan on doing pre F&T on Friday. I missed last week, but getting back into the regular schedule. And yeah. And we do need to make up a Deep Six Flicks sometime soon, and you get to pick the next movie. So
I do?
Well, we were supposed to do some Leprechaun one for March, but now that we're like going into April, we'll have to, maybe we'll just do
that's right.
Maybe we'll do a Patty's Day in April, but TBD, more on that later. And we'll have to discuss what crime of the month, what case we're going to cover in April. So stay tuned. And thanks everybody, all 80 of you across platforms watching. And with that, thanks for chats and all the memberships and like all the things. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good time, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Deuces. Stay Gucci.
Deuces.